What if I told you that in the heart of northern Mexico, inside a quiet bridal shop, there stands a mannequin that might not be a mannequin at all? Locals call her La Pascualita. At first glance, she looks like any other display figure, dressed in shimmering gowns, posed elegantly behind a glass window. But step closer, and unease creeps in. Her glassy eyes seem to reel, her skin to detailed, her fingernails to human, and for almost a century, people have whispered the same horrifying suspicion that this mannequin is not plastic, not wax, but the embalmed corpse of a real bride. The story begins in March 1930 in the dusty city of Chihuahua, Mexico. The Pascualita bridal shop, owned by a woman named Pascuala Esparza, unveiled a new mannequin. She was unlike anything the town had ever seen, astonishingly lifelike, with delicate features, eyelashes that seemed to cast shadows, and hands that showed wrinkles and veins. People stopped in their tracks outside the shop. Women admired the detail. Men felt uneasy under her gaze. Children pressed their noses against the glass, certain that she blinked when no one was watching. At first, no one questioned where she came from, but soon, whispers spread. The mannequin's debut was to perfectly timed. Just days earlier, Pascuala's own daughter, young, beautiful, and newly engaged, had died tragically on her wedding day. Some said it was a scorpion bite. Others insisted it was black magic. The timing was uncanny. And then, suddenly, this mannequin appeared in the shop window, wearing a bridal gown nearly identical to the one Pascuala's daughter had been buried in. Locals were horrified. Was this mannequin truly just wax and glass? Or had Pascuala embalmed her dead daughter and placed her in the window? Condemned to wear wedding dresses, she would never walk down the island. The evidence, for many, was overwhelming. La Pascualita's skin had a strange texture, neither plastic nor porcelain. Her hair looked real. Her eyelashes were impossibly fine. Even her fingernails had cuticles, the kind no sculptor could replicate. Clerks working inside the shop swore her expression changed depending on the hour. Brides shopping for dresses claimed her eyes followed them, almost approving or condemning their choice. At night, some insisted they saw her shift slightly, as if adjusting her gown. The tale spread beyond Chihuahua. Journalists came to investigate. Scientists tried to dismiss it as folklore, the human brain projecting life onto a lifeless object. But the longer they stared into her glassy eyes, the less certain they became. Some say Pascuala Esparza grew obsessed after her daughter's death, refusing to let her go. Instead of burying her properly, she preserved her body using secret embalming techniques, maybe even rituals whispered about in hushed tones. Mexico, after all, has long danced with death, its culture steeped in Day of the Dead celebrations, its history filled with saints, miracles, and curses. In this soil, the idea of a preserved corpse bride seemed less impossible. But if La Pascualita truly is a corpse, then she has endured for nearly a century without decaying. Visitors who come close swear they see veins beneath the skin, faint discolorations like bruises. Her face carries a melancholy beauty, the kind you don't find in mannequins, no matter how finely made. Over the years, the legend deepened. Brides began treating La Pascualita as a kind of saint. Before trying on a gown, they whispered prayers to her, asking for luck in marriage. Some claimed she blessed them, and their unions flourished. Others warned that she was jealous, cursing those who dared wear her dress. The staff at the shop, too, had stories. Seamstresses working late claimed her hands felt warm when touched. They swore she sometimes shifted her position slightly overnight, though no one ever saw her move. One tailor confessed he refused to be alone in the shop with her, because he once heard faint breathing. And then came the most disturbing detail of all. Only a select few were allowed to change her dresses. When journalists asked why, the owner's descendants gave vague answers. Rumor had it that dressing La Pascualita was horrifying, because when you touched her body, she felt disturbingly real, not the smooth coldness of plastic, but the resistant softness of human flesh. One seamstress quit after claiming she saw stitches at the back of the mannequin's head. The legend of La Pascualita became a kind of pilgrimage. People traveled across Mexico just to stand before her window. Some wept, some prayed. Others stared in terrified fascination. convinced that behind the glass was not a mannequin at all, but a woman frozen between life and death. Still, skeptics insisted it was nothing more than artistry. A wax figure, they said, crafted with unparalleled skill. But the longer you look, the more impossible that explanation becomes. Wax melts, it cracks in the heat, and Chihuahua is unforgivingly hot. Yet La Pascualita remains pristine, her skin smooth, her expression hauntingly alive. Decades have passed, and still no one has proven the truth. The family that owns the shop has never allowed a proper forensic examination. Perhaps out of respect, perhaps out of fear, or perhaps, as some whisper, because they know exactly what she is. So she remains there still, dressed in lace and satin, staring at the street with eyes that might once have seen the world. Brides continue to whisper to her. Locals continue to swear she watches them. And visitors leave convinced they've stood in the presence of the uncanny and eternal bride, who never made it to her wedding, forever trapped behind glass. But this is only half the story. Because if La Pascualita truly is a corpse bride, then the real horror is not just what she is but what she has become in the eyes of a city that both fears and worships her. What kind of secrets lie behind her glass coffin? What happens when devotion turns to obsession? When mourning turns to something darker? And why, after nearly a century, does no one dare to bury her? They said she blinked. They said, on a moonless night, her delicate hand shifted ever so slightly inside the lace glove, as if Mexico's most famous mannequin was not made of wax at all, but still, somehow, terrifyingly alive. For decades, locals had whispered that something was deeply wrong with the figure inside the bridal shop window. Her skin pale, textured, almost porous, did not shine like plastic under harsh sunlight. It looked alarmingly real. The tiny creases on her knuckles, the faint bluish veins just beneath the surface, and the glassy eyes that seemed to follow passers-by. All of it was too perfect, too unsettling. But whispers alone were not enough. Sooner or later, someone had to confront the mystery. In the 1970s, urban legend hunters and curious journalists descended upon Chihuahua. They pressed their faces against the window, trying to catch some secret flaw, maybe a seam line, maybe chipped paint. Instead, they swore they saw sweat forming near her hairline, like real perspiration. Others claimed her fingernails grew longer each year. And still, every new bride who visited the shop said the same thing. La Pascualita looked at them directly and smiled. One former employee recounted, "I was alone in the shop, adjusting the hem of a wedding gown. When I turned back, the mannequin's head was tilted. It hadn't been before. I froze. I whispered, 'Segarita, is that you?' And for a moment, I swore she breathed." Rumors thickened. Locals began calling her not just a mannequin, but a santo cadaver, a holy corpse. Some lit candles beneath her window, treating her as both a relic and a curse. And then came the whispers of witchcraft. Stories began circulating of a mysterious brujo, a sorcerer from the northern mountains, who had once been hired by the Pascualita family. He was said to have fallen in love with the dead bride, preserving her with forbidden rites, binding her spirit inside her own body. The shop girls whispered that every night, after the shutters closed, her gaze followed them until the last light was out. Some swore her feet shifted slightly on the floor tiles, leaving faint scuff marks by morning. Others insisted they heard faint footsteps upstairs, as if someone in a heavy gown was pacing back and forth. And then the most chilling tale of all. A bride-to-be from Chihuahua City claimed that she walked past the shop at midnight. Through the glass, she saw not a mannequin, but a pale woman in full bridal dress, standing just behind the curtain, whispering her name. By dawn, the woman collapsed in fever, and her wedding was called off. She swore on her sick that La Pascualita had cursed her marriage. Word spread beyond Chihuahua. By the late 20th century, tourists from Mexico City, even from the U.S., came to see her. Photographers tried to capture her face, only to find their images blurred, warped, as if the camera itself rejected her likeness. Some claim that when you stared long enough into her eyes, you saw not your reflection but the image of a corpse lying in a coffin. Others insisted she brought blessings. Young women who prayed to her before their wedding swore their marriages were long and happy. A strange duality emerged. Half the city feared her, half adored her. She was both saint and curse, idol and horror. One particularly haunting account came from a French anthropologist in the 1990s. He examined her hands through the glass with a magnifying lens. His conclusion: these are not Mannequin's hands. They are embalmed. Whoever this was, she lived, she breathed. He left Chihuahua abruptly, never publishing his findings. Skeptics, of course, argued otherwise. They pointed to Mexico's long tradition of hyper-realistic wax artistry. Some suggested the Pascualita family had commissioned an incredibly skilled mannequin maker capable of producing uncanny detail. But here's the problem: mannequins from the 1930s should have decayed by now. Sunlight, dust, time itself should have yellowed the skin, cracked the glass eyes. Yet La Pascualita remains pristine. No cracks, no peeling paint, just silent perfection. Too perfect, too human. And then came the most sinister detail. Bridal shop employees, bound by contract, were forbidden to touch her, move her, or clean her. Only the shop's owner, in absolute secrecy, would attend to the mannequin. Curtains drawn, doors locked. No one knows what he did or what he saw. Some claim he changed her dress, careful never to expose her too long. Others whispered that he injected her with embalming fluid, maintaining her as one might a mummified saint. But every explanation led back to the same chilling question: why guard a mannequin with such devotion unless she was not a mannequin at all? And so she stands, even now, in the shop window of Chihuahua. Brides still tremble beneath her gaze. Tourists still whisper, crossing themselves as they walk past. Is La Pascualita simply the masterpiece of a forgotten artisan? Or is she truly a corpse bride, embalmed for eternity, cursed to stand in white lace until the end of time? Look into her eyes, if you dare, but be careful, because once she sees you, she never forgets. Follow for more dark history and legends that refuse to die.